So first off, I don't know if you've ever Googled how to moderate a panel discussion, but the thing that every single person says is to not allow your panelists to introduce themselves. But I'm looking around the room, and I've been with you guys all day, and I believe that we're all a group of very radical thinkers, doing things differently, and so we are going to live on the dangerous side and allow our panelists to introduce themselves. They have 2 minutes each, and only 2 minutes, and if they go over, I will very aggressively clear my throat in their general direction. So with that, can I start off with Debbie? I'd love it if you would tell us a little about yourself and what you've been doing with your organization.
2 minutes.
I'll make you live, Debbie. 1 second now. You will be. You will.
I'm loud in general, but hi, I'm Debbie Wiseman. I'm the co-founder of Sharing the Harvest, along with a hunter named Barry Fordham. We were founded in 2020, and we're a nonprofit. I have notes in front of me because I'm a little bit nervous. So our mandate is to get locally sourced food into food banks and into food programs, and to find out what is stopping people from donating and what we can do about it. I was researching food security and food sovereignty, and actually I was looking about getting local fish, and Kimberly already left, so she's missing me mentioning fish, but getting locally caught fish into food banks, and I found this article about this hunter who was trying to get moose and caribou into food banks. I assumed hunters could already donate, but I was wrong. It was actually illegal for them to do that. There's only 4 provinces in Canada, we're now the 5th, who allow donations. I started a petition and we got the legislation changed within 2 years. It's just changed this month actually, we're just waiting for royal assent and then it will be officially changed. And I don't think I need to badmouth the government, I'll skip that part. Yeah, okay, that's it.
Good afternoon, everyone, and really nice to be here in St. John's. I came from Labrador. Anybody else here from Labrador by any chance? Awesome. I'm in good company. I'm in good company anyway. So I'm Roxanne Notley, and I work with an Indigenous organization, NunatuKavut, and I'm from Port Simpson. I get the privilege to work in my hometown as well. And in 2021, I was hired as food security coordinator, and but 5 years prior to that, the organization saw a need to share traditional food. We have a lot of an aging population, and the older people were saying the families were gone, there was no one to hunt, they were really missing traditional food in their diets, and so NunatuKavut in their wisdom started a community freezer, which started out to be 2, one in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and one in the south coast in my hometown. But I'm really happy to say now we've expanded that program, and almost every community that we serve have a community freezer where people can access traditional foods. So that food is, it's amazing. So that food is shared with our elders, and it's shared with people with needs for food. And so we've been able to add like hunters' food in that, moose, lots of fish. We tried to, we had polar bear this year. And seal, of course. And so anything that we traditionally ate, we try to source that in with our local hunters, and we provide that to the community. So it's been, so that's just the start. My job is basically to work with expanding that program, ensuring there's always access, dealing with the supply issue. As you can imagine in Labrador, we deal with a lot of supply. 2 of our communities are not connected by a road. Myself and Andrea with Nutrition North is going out there next week, and so there we deal with programs to address the needs that those communities are facing, and then of course it's infrastructure, growing our own food, going back to traditional ways of doing things. We never ever had food insecurity in the past. We've always found ways to put food on our table, but now we're finding that it is a very big challenge, and we're trying to find ways to and just relearn some of the things that we always knew how to do, And now, so that's been a very, very interesting and rewarding and challenging, but in a good way, position. And I'm very honored to be working with NunatuKavut and our communities. And I have just one organization. We have 3 Indigenous groups in Labrador who are doing similar things, but they have more people than me trying to do that as a paid position, but they're doing a fabulous job as well.
Hello folks, my name is Les Perry. I'm with Food First NL. I'm the Metro Food Animator, so here to talk a little bit about one of the programs we've been doing over the last couple of months, which is Food on the Move. So in October, we launched a mobile grocery store. We're taking a bit of a social enterprise approach where we're going out, we're purchasing bulk amounts of food, and we're able to pass these savings along to members in the community. We're working closely with the Community Center Alliance here in St. John's. So we come in to the community centers, we're actually bringing the public library along with us. So we try to set up a bit of a community event where folks are able to come in and access great fresh food. Right now we're focused on produce. So we've got a pricing model that works to be $2 each or 3 for $5. We wanted a nice, simple pricing model so people knew what they were getting into. We all know the difficulties with inflation and how hard it's been going to the grocery store, not knowing what the food prices are going to be from week to week. It can make it really difficult for folks to budget. So when people have $5, $10, $15, or $20, they know what they can come get from us. So our goal has been to create a community space, to have this project moving around the city, meeting folks where they're at. So anybody that's experiencing some transportation barriers, we're able to get as close as possible, be right in community. So it's been a great experience so far. We've made excellent connections with folks. We're starting to build up some repeat customers and just changing that experience of buying groceries. We have to have more of a conversation with folks, talk about what they're doing with the food, who they're shopping for, who they're bringing it with. There's no barriers to who can access the market itself. You don't have to live in the community that we're at. We're obviously trying to bring it close to folks, but we do have folks that come and travel. They drive from all across the city, and we're always happy to meet new people. It's just an excellent opportunity to have those, to be able to pass along some savings, take advantage of our bulk buying power to help people out. And that's all I've got so far.
Hi, I'm Jody. I'm the Executive Director at Bridge to Hope Food Bank. So we started in 1989. You've been hearing a lot of these 40-year food banks bopping around. We're one of them. We've been around a while. We started up on Cocker Street in a church basement. Moved through several locations, and we're currently on Cookstown Road. Basically the last few years have been quite challenging, and we've been working on some projects that we were hoping to roll out, but honestly the last couple of years just maintaining services have been the biggest challenge. In 2019 I was the only full-time employee with 2 part-times. Now we have 4 full-times. A busy day was seeing 18 people. Last week we saw 86 people on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maintaining services for us right now is our goal. Food drives are down dramatically since COVID. People just a lot of people didn't get back to work, but we're starting to see a huge uptick in food drives this Christmas compared to the last couple of years, which is great. But of course, the demand in the food bank world will always outmatch supply. It always has, so that's always an issue. And one of the things, there's been a lot of talk of advocacy here today. One of the things, I am lucky enough that we get a bit of media attention, so I get to be on the news a bit. And I do, I think it's important to not, certainly we need to look out for our own interests as the individual food banks, but anytime we get a chance to advocate on behalf of all food banks, I think it's really important to do so. We've just been constant pivoting. We're going from, it came up earlier that we had to shut down March 13, 2020. All of our volunteers were over 65, and we just were like, well, I had a kid, the other worker had a kid, and we had to shut down. So And ever since then, we've changed our staffing model 3 to 4 times. We changed the way we deal with clients a bunch of times. You know, and unfortunately, we're not back yet to having the clients in. I think that's one of the other food banks. That's certainly what we're missing the most. That kind of contact with the, you know, part of the stigma of going to the food bank, of course, is I was surprised to see some of the comments like people didn't feel welcome and stuff. It was kind of broke my heart to see that was actually a comment. I know certainly we do our best to make people feel welcome. But when you're outside froze to death, and you know, it's not ideal. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I do want to say that I'm grateful to be here, and I think this is a first step in something new, maybe. Hopefully we'll come out of this. I noticed when we were chatting that people didn't want to seem to end, so that's good, right? So, thank you. You got your own music there.
So I have like 0.5 seconds, right? Hi, Jennifer, Local Wellness Collective.
No.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Collins. I'm my executive director with the Local Wellness Collective. We're an allied partner with the Food First Community Food Line, and we've been dissolving boundaries around transportation of food hampers, meals, and gift cards. So that's been challenging but great, and that's been our project. And I think we're achieving kind of the dissolving of the boundaries, because we can never, like myself, I'm a single mom and I've had, you know, full-time job, car in the driveway, and you still run into barriers. So we're hoping to kind of change those and make sure that we deliver with non-judgment and respect and integrity, because I feel like I'm in a room of friends here, and that's kind of how we proceed on our day-to-day with our deliveries too. So,
Thanks, folks, and I'm happy to report you're all on time with timing, as a totality. So our second question, and this time you have 3 minutes each, so like, go crazy. How have you been challenging or innovating the traditional models of food charity or food access? And a lot of you touched on it in your introductions, but like, do a deep dive.
Okay.
That Debbie?
Yeah.
All right.
It's me. Yeah, so like I said, our mandate is to get more local food into food banks. At the beginning, it was more like an environmental thing for me. You know, I was thinking about how sometimes I buy a plum and it comes from across the world to get to me. I'm not growing plums, but I was thinking about other sources of food like fish and moose and things like that. And when I talk about the food that comes in food banks, I don't want anyone to think I'm like judging food banks. I know that it's the current model and it's what you have to do to keep feeding people, but most of the food in the food banks comes from the supermarket. It's a lot of canned food. You don't really get a lot of fresh food, and especially not a lot of local food. So like we want to get more fresh and local food into food banks, and we've kind of been doing that. The reason we've been doing that is because it's healthier, it's better for the environment. And then if we donate it, the food banks don't have to spend a little bit of money they get on food, and they can offer this traditional food to their clients. And so I just paged down all the way, just 1 second. Yeah, so this year we've already donated over 1,000 pounds of moose, 90 pounds of caribou. We also donated rabbits, which made me sad. I didn't even look at them. I just like berries and capelin, and all this stuff was local. The moose and the caribou were donated. Capelin was actually caught by Barry himself. He went down to Millico and caught them and distributed them. And we purchased the other stuff from local food processors. So we were able to get our, use our money, the little bit of money that we have, and go and support the local food system, and then also get that local food into the food banks. Another thing we've been doing is trying to remove the red tape and the confusion around the donations so that people can donate more easily. A lot of people don't realize what they can donate to food banks, and like what food banks are willing to accept and what's legally allowed to be accepted. So that's another thing that we want to do. And we also want to, let the government know that, I'm talking about politicians, not the government workers, because I think the workers are great. It's politicians. Politicians just need to listen to the people in this room and just get out of our way basically and let us tell them what needs to be done.
Well said, Debbie. Very diplomatic. We've been challenged with actually understanding the scope of the need in our communities. And as I've been sharing with some people, trying to figure out what's the best model, what's the best approach to making sure that people always have access to food, is people have been, I think, in Indigenous communities, they suffer in silence. They don't tell, they don't talk, they don't share. Their families, they may ask for, I'd love to have a meal of partridges or something like that. Just hint around about it, right? But they won't go out and say, I really don't have food, or I don't have the food that I need for nourishment and things like that. So that's the challenge that we're faced with. And we've been trying to change the conversation and saying, because I've been asking people, do you have challenges with putting food on your table? No, I don't have no challenges like that. But then I asked the question, have you been making choices about what you put on? Have things that you put on your table different than what you did probably a year or 2 years ago? Oh yes, because then because I've already started. I know I've made choices. Like here I am with pretty good income, double income in my home, and I'm making choices. So then we're on a level playing field, and we're having a dialogue. It's not me trying to figure. I can put food on we're equal when it comes to that conversation. So that's making things a little easier and having those conversations. Then we're finding out when you have those relationships that they're struggling. They're really struggling, and so that's the challenge that we are having, is trying to figure out and during COVID, NunatuKavut have been able to provide food baskets and vouchers and things like that, and it's the appreciation when you show up to someone's door with that. And they thank you, they'll kiss you if you let them, that kind of thing, right? As if you're taking it right off your covers to give it to them. It's just like that. It's just amazing that, and there's a need out there. That when this we're doing our last hamper in Christmas. So we know when that last hamper is delivered, that it's going to be a challenge. It's already a challenge, so it's going to be even harder after this. So we're working that now, trying to find ways of providing a full approach, trying to, of course, increasing our community freezers. We've given harvesting grants to people, and they go out and hunt for themselves. But we also have a caveat that whatever you have, share with your neighbor, share with someone else, because that's always been our way as Aboriginal Indigenous people, is to share. When you went out hunting, you came in, you provided for your family, but you provided for 2 or 3 other families too. That's just been always our way. And so because of food access was a little easier the past, for the past 20 years in Labrador, it's kind of gone to the wayside, and everybody assumed that everybody got food, but it's not that now. And now we're trying to say, reminding people that your neighbor or someone down the road don't have this access, don't have this food, and if you have it and you have access and you can share, then please do share that. So that's a part of our, just reminding people that, they don't have the families living at home now that used to hunt for them. They don't have means to get out, fill up their gas tanks to go and hunt. That's another thing too. So and then we're also helping people with accessing rebates that's out there. The fact that they get a rebate for oil means they got more fund money for food. So our programs is not just about food, but it's also about helping them with applications so that they have more money for food. And the cost of food, I don't even have to tell you about that. it's just crazy. It's just unbelievable in Labrador, and just nutrition of food especially. Those foods are just not even, can't even consider it. So, but past frozen food is good too, so we're trying to re-educate that too. So there's just so many things that we're looking at and working with our communities on, but it takes a village, right? So we're just doing that work together.
This is on? There we go. just speaking about some of the challenges there and dealing with people in their community, one of our big goals with Food on the Move is to bring people together while they're shopping and have those conversations around a table. We're trying to hit folks big on right in their community, bringing them there, limiting the transportation need. As we know here in St. John's, it can be a little bit difficult to get around if you don't have a vehicle. And winter's coming up, our sidewalks tend to disappear. And if you're accessing public transit, it takes time. So anytime that we're able to get into someone's community and lessen that time and transportation need for them accessing food, that's time they have back to do something else. Whether that's spend with their family, spend with somebody in the community, have a hobby, take a nap. We're all tired. So it's, you have those chances to gain time back for yourself while keeping some money in your pocket. Food prices, they're going up. And by being able to offer this kind of standardized model of $2 each or 3 for $5, we're giving people the opportunity to continually make a choice for some of this fresh food and more nutritious food and the food that they want that they're not being able to get at the grocery store because it's too cost prohibitive. We've really had our finger on the pulse going around St. John's and the surrounding area, looking at the retail cost of food, looking at what people are paying to access for themselves, and it's expensive. We're able to take advantage by working with wholesalers and going around places to see where we can get those bulk deals. The bulk deals, and breaking it down, this can be affordable. People can get access, but it's really hard if you don't know 5 to 10 people that are going to split a 50-pound bag of cabbages with you when you need one. So we're able to kind of offer that service, as well as while people are shopping, they're talking. We've had cabbages there, and I'll talk about one thing we've had beets recently. They've been really expensive in Sobeys and other places. We were able to get a great deal through a wholesaler, and people were really, really excited for the first couple of weeks. And what we've had is people coming back talking about they weren't buying them the second time around. They were quite confused. Everybody went and bought a ton of beets the first time around. We were able to make their pickled beets and share them with people in the community or stock up. So this was something they loved doing. They weren't doing it at the grocery store. They made choices against something that had been a traditional practice for them throughout the fall. And we were able to kind of give that service back and see the smiling faces next week. And it's nice to be able to, I don't know how many times you go to the grocery store and actually have a conversation with the cashier about what you're buying, what you want. We're able to be really responsive to these communities. So when people are asking for certain things, we're able to take that money in that we're getting. We're not making any profit, we're just covering our costs for our food. So anytime people are purchasing from us, that money is just going back and buying food the next week. Some things we don't make as much on and have to pass it along. But we're able to be responsive, get people what they want, when they want it, that they might not have access to at the traditional retailers. So we're really taking that retail model and just changing it up and trying to make it accessible, affordable, and consistent. So people know we're coming to their location every 2 weeks. They can plan around when we're going to be there and when they're going to have that $20, so they can kind of make better choices between their budget and everything else in their life. One other thing we've done is we invested a lot of money into getting a nice POS system, a very good point of sale. So we take cash, credit, debit, we offer gift cards. We want to offer a really dignified experience. So when people are shopping with us, it's no different than shopping anywhere else. Like the dignity is there. Customer service is at the forefront for us. We want to make sure that it doesn't matter if you've got a pocket full of change or you're paying with Visa or MasterCard, that interaction, the transaction you're having is the same. We want people to leave there smiling, happy with the food they got, and that there's no limitation to how people can access it, just breaking down those barriers. Yeah.
That's all I have. Not ready, man? I'm just kidding.
It'll make me go longer, I
I'm
can't.
good, I'm good. So I said we've been trying to maintain services, but we have we have done some things for sure. Some of the things in the past few years, some of the big things I guess is collaborating with Jennifer here from Local Wellness Connection for Seniors. And now we deliver food, which is something we've always wanted to do. We didn't have the resources to do it. Of course, now that's increased our demand a lot, which is it's okay. It's the other side of it. And we were really just getting ready to do this grocery store model. Like we had the research done, we had it all planned out, everything. We even had like the whole building rejig, and now again people are outside, so we do have that on the back burner. I do feel like that's the next step for food banks, is to let the clients come in and be able to pick out their own food. For lots of reasons. I'm a single dad, for instance. If I was going to go to the food bank, I would look in my cupboard first, see what I have, go and try to complement it and plan meals, right? So instead of me just giving what I'm given. So there's that. Say 30% of our clients now are not Newfoundlanders originally, so they don't necessarily eat like what, because their hampers are kind of old school, right? We're going to have canned beans and all these things that tea bags and white sugar. And it's cool, but we do have this new clientele and they don't really want this stuff. And even our Christmas, for instance, we just did our Christmas gift cards, which we used to do a traditional turkey hampers, and then since COVID, this will be our third year of doing gift cards. And I'll show you the demand. We have registration from Monday to Friday from 9 to 1. We had $27,000 in gift cards, and they were gone in 5 hours. We didn't get to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They were gone. So this just goes to show you the demand out there, and phones ringing off the hook. People who, of course, are still looking. So that's one thing we did, and I think that's important. It's not the client choice model, but it's the same thing, right? It's empowering people to go pick out their own food. In an ideal world, I believe there wouldn't be a food bank. Somehow the client would just go to the grocery store, imagine that. And somehow they would just have a card, maybe that's preloaded with money, and they swipe it. Imagine that. I think that's kind of maybe where we're headed in the future. Because one of the things on the ground is, that's the most frustrating for me, personally, is so much work goes into, if you just look at the end product, break it down to the common denominator, one food hamper, one person, and we're giving them 4 days worth of food, and even within that, there's no protein. There's nothing to really make complete meals. So, I think that's one of the biggest problems food banks, not that food banks face. That's one of the biggest, I think donors too think, and a lot of people think that we're giving people food for a month, or people are going there and they're, but that's so not even our intention. We can't even do that, doing 86 people a day. And then another thing too, the second harvest, I'd like to mention that because I think that's a great addition to our local food security, just being able to have access to food. Again, luckily we have a van, we have a freezer, so again we're able to avail of that probably a bit more than others. But I had 20 minutes. All right. I got another question. I don't know what's going on.
That's potential.
That's what it is.
I can even kind of just continue on that, because the only challenge is, we're all new, we kind of stumbled through this, and we're still stumbling through it, to be honest. I have no idea what I'm doing up here. I'm just here. We delivered food, it was great. We'll continue to do so, but one of the biggest challenges was a lot of the older food bank models were there, and they would only go to the certain areas, and then we were having clients call in that were in that area, but then they didn't use that food bank, and there was so much red tape, so I think I just would show up at the door and say, "Hi, I'm here to get the food." And they were like, "Who are you?" "Well, we're going to pick it up for this client." So I reminded everybody that we were all moving in the same direction. We all just want to help people. This is all what we're doing together. Majority of people in let's say the older structure of food banks, we're okay with that. But one of the best things was connecting with Bridges to Hope, because you guys do a totally different model. It's not about just in that area. It's everywhere. I've driven to Shoe Cove. I've driven I don't know if that's Metro, I don't think so. But like, you know, there was no boundaries or barriers set there, and I think that was just a huge thing that Bridges, as far as I know, was one of the first food banks to do that, and continuing on with those models in the future I think will be absolutely amazing. And challenges I think are a daily thing. Like my day is filled with variables. I don't know how many clients we have, I don't know how many food banks we're dealing with, I don't know what gas prices are, I don't know how many people I'll need. So it's all nice when we're all in a team together kind of moving forward, and I think that's the best way to move through upcoming challenges that we all face. Good. Think you're good?
We're doing so good, I'm proud of us. Last question from me. We're here today to rethink food charity and take steps to improve food access in Newfoundland and Labrador. In your opinion, what is one of the most important goals we should be working towards at this time, and what step can everyone here take to move us in that direction? You still have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. So while we were doing those World Cafes, I kind of stuck at the stigma table for about 3/4 of it, because that's kind of like my big thing is I want to eliminate the stigma around charity and food banks and having to access help. And like in our lives, we all need help at one time or another. And I don't think there really should be a stigma around asking for help. I'm not sure how to do that, but because I'm not one of the people who thinks it's bad. But I think we really do need to rethink the idea of the deserving poor versus the undeserving poor. So we think there's people who deserve help for whatever reason, and there's people who don't deserve help. And one of the words I hate is the word skeet.
Oh.
I hate that word so much. You know, it's so dehumanizing to me to just refer to people like that. Because you know we're all I know there's probably people in this room who currently live below the poverty line. Like there's some definitely people at this table who live below the poverty line right now. I mean, I don't mind saying I do. You know, you get caught. People are born into poverty and they get caught in this cycle of poverty, and it's really hard to get out. It's not a moral failing if you can't get out of it, right? We all know the minimum wage is not acceptable. It's not a living wage. It's not even half the living wage, probably. Somebody made a really good point at the table actually was to change the language to more positive language. So you're not calling people marginalized, you're not using words like skeet and stuff like that. You're using a more positive way to talk about people and using their strengths instead of their weaknesses. I really love the grocery store model. I love that idea. I was a person who had to access food banks myself my whole life. I remember lining up outside with my mom when I was young. My mom, you know, she always made sure I knew that this was the reality of our lives, is that we didn't have enough to get by and these people were helping us. And so I think the grocery store model would have been great at that time because we got a lot of things that we didn't really know how to cook or we already had or things like that or didn't know what to do with it. Let me see. My other idea is food banks being more like community centers. So people are not just going there and not just picking up food and leaving. They're staying and they're socializing because we're all kind of, you know, isolated. There's so much isolation in communities now. I know in my own community, I really wanted a community center. I think about the older people in the community who are just stuck in their homes and they don't get to socialize at all. And finally, like I said earlier, I think just the government should be listening to the people in this room, the people who are on the front lines.
I don't think there's anything else to be said. That's awesome. Yeah, I also, I agree with all of that. That's just, I guess for me too, living in Labrador and as an Indigenous person, our priority have always been, and it's been food, shelter, and sharing. You had that. You had food and shelter. You had everything. And I think the priority, or that should be just basic. That should be just basic standard for everyone in the province, and we should have a means to have that. And it's only then we can say we're getting it, we're doing it right, and we're okay. And if not everybody got that, then we're not okay. And so we should all be seeing and working towards that means. And then I think too that, you know, for healthy food, the price of certain things should be the same in Nain as what it is in Avalon. You know, there's things now that's just so out of whack when it comes to people having access to good quality food and just not even be able to take it off the shelf because it's just crazy. And you know, we can standardize the price of a bottle of alcohol in this province. We should be able to standardize prices on healthy food. And that was just I take that from a guy who's passed on now. He was always advocate of that, and I was a young person working in economic and regional development, and that was something he said at many tables, and I'll just continue that mantra. I think that should be the practice. I think that you guys, you know, I appreciate what everybody's done do to help with food security. Second Harvest has been a phenomenal asset. Even reached out in Labrador this year with our organization, and we were able to share a truckload of chicken. I didn't know what the world was going to do with it. I thought they were just coming in with a crate of chicken, and all of a sudden I had a truckload. But we got it out, and we got partners, and that's what takes. You know, when we have food delivered, we get it out. Because we know the needs out there, and we will get it out, and we'll make sure it gets into every household, and that's what I'm very proud that we were able to do that this year. But I really enjoyed the conversation here, the fact that people could come in, the dignity of being able to get food, and being able to share that food. In small communities, that's a challenge because everybody knows what everybody's doing, and no one really wants to know that they're coming in to pick up food, right? So that's a challenge, but I think we can do that by having these community centers, like she mentioned, and so people are coming in not just for food, but they're coming in for helping with an application for this or helping with something else. So they're coming for whatever reason. No one really knows what they're coming for. But they go out, they came in with a backpack, they may have food in it, so they may not. So it depends on what their needs are.
I just want to double down on that sense of community centers and community places. That's going to be one of the things we really strive for moving forward. That there's these rich community spaces where people are getting together, talking about food, eating food, sharing food skills. The more we get people around a table, the more that we can destigmatize some of this these feelings towards these charity services. When we're creating these rich communities where your neighbor's gonna help you out, or that you can go out with your neighbors, they're picking berries, going fishing, or they're gonna drop off a bottle of beets from the community, from somewhere so they purchase them. Just knowing that you have that faith around with your community, it's a hard thing to build. The more that we all step into those community centers, start engaging with our neighbors and getting to know people, the easier that's going to be. Breaking down that stigma doesn't come from us just talking about it. It comes from living it, getting out and participating in these different events, being involved with community leaders, down to the community members, and especially children. It's getting out there, showing them right off the bat that we can all sit together, have a meal. You create a different bond with folks, especially with strangers, when you sit down and share food. You start sharing stories. You start, especially when you're making food or teaching different food skills, you get to find out what someone's parents made. You get to find out really who they are, where they came from. That's something that we're missing. And coming out of the pandemic, we all just spent a lot of time sitting alone in our houses. We might have had some people could chat over Zoom. Some people had those opportunities. Sitting together in a big room like this, like we are today, is something that 2 years ago, we wouldn't have been on the radar at all. But today we're able to get together, talk about where we've been, the work we're doing, and share some food, share some thoughts. So this level of community building that's in this room and out in the world, we just need to continue with it. The more normalized it is to see people going out of the community center with a backpack full of food, the less people are going to care where that came from. The less the neighbors are going to start talking of such and such. This person got some food here, this one got some. It doesn't matter. We shall have full pantries. It doesn't matter where it came from. At the end of the day, that we got something to eat.
thought for you there, my friend. So there's a saying, I'm trying to think of who said it. May your food be your medicine, and may your medicine be your food. Food has become a commodity. It's lost what it was. He was just talking about sharing food, and it just being, it's turned into something else, right? It's turned into like packaged goods, commodified. It's on the stock market. It's really gone from being food to, I don't even call it food anymore. So most of it's not food. And I think the biggest thing we can do is philosophical, and we just say food is a basic human right. We pick a date, 3 years from now, and we say that's the date that we make it a human right, and then that flows into other things. Now you need to pay people enough to buy food because it's a human right. Grocery stores are not allowed to throw out food because it's a human right, not allowed to waste it, and they get fined for doing so. So then by having that as your ultimate goal, then from that will start to affect all of your laws, and it'll start to percolate down through every system, even food banks, right? It'll just change everything. And always make food a health issue. It's a health issue. Right now we're in an emergency health crisis in this country. We're a first world country and we're in a food health crisis. And we need to tell the government this and say it as much as possible, as loud as possible. This is what's happening, right? And yeah, some of this is legislative. I mean, like I said, in France, it's illegal to throw out food. If you own a grocery store and you get caught, you'll get fined. I'm thinking, and it would require a lot more infrastructure, but I do believe that there's still 10,000, 5,000 pounds of food being thrown out in the city every day, especially meat, fruits, and vegetables particularly. What places donate is more of the safe stuff. It's going to be the carbohydrates, sugars, cookies. So they're still throwing out the things that are what our clients want. So if we can get the legislator to basically, and they all won't donate the food because of liability issues, obviously. But if we can make a law that, when they sign it off to you, the food bank person, they're no longer liable. And I think that's a big step. Because that's just food that's being wasted every day. Thousands and thousands of pounds of food. And then ask for money. Probably 5 years ago, I was on CBC Crosstalk, I think. And they asked me the best way to help a food bank. And I said, money. And it was, at the time, it was really controversial. After I got off, the guy was like, can't believe you said that, the host. He's like, no one's ever said that before. But it's like, why, if you're going to give our clients gift cards so they can have more choice and buy what they need, then you're going to give a food bank money so they can buy what their clients need, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? It gives us more options to buy. I think so. I think Civic said the main thing, I think, to walk out of here is to advocacy, I think is a big thing. I think we are in a mental, yes, I would say that too. We're in a mental health crisis to go along with our food health crisis. And again, the more we can shout that out loud and clear, I think it's better for all of us. Thank you.
Sorry. I thought you did it. It's a tough question, man. I don't know. It's a super tough question. I'm really glad we're having the tough question conversations. I do apologize. My son had a basketball tournament today, so I missed a chunk of today. But he lost one and won one, so I could be here. I was not cheering for him to lose the last one, though I kind of was because I'm happy to be here. I think one of the main things, I guess, just to touch on that question, is we need to understand that poverty and food insecurity is not localized. It's not just in one area. We can't just say, oh, well, that's that part of town, they're poor, right? And we have to understand it's everyone, whether we talk about it or not, every single person here, every single person there, we're all actually making hard choices now. I love that. Making difficult decisions to move forward in our lives. And we've never had to do that before. So the less we take out of the us and them, I think it's all of us, it's together. We really have to address this moving forward together. The other thing some solutions might be local farms. I love bringing fresh produce, like you were saying with the beets. Like you can get them way cheaper if you bring those into the mix a little bit more. And if we can work with more local farmers, then it's more of a kind of closed loop system, right? Which may benefit things. And I had one other thing, but I forget what it is now. So. But more conversations like this. Collaborate with everybody that you're talking to, like, and think outside the box. Don't be afraid. Like, I've got into stuff in meetings and just, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm just thinking outside the box, saying these ideas, just to kind of get it out there, because it does need to change. We need to push against that red tape that we're all getting. And we need to do it together and loudly, quietly, however comfortable you are doing it, just do it. And we'll push against that and we'll get things like Second Harvest and create those closed loop systems that we really need.
Perfect, thanks guys. So with these ideas at the forefront of our minds, we will now open up our discussion to audience members. And you've got staff coming around with microphones just so everyone's voices can amplify. That is you and Sarah. We'll go with Sarah first then.
This is probably a question for Debbie and Roxanne, maybe more, but it's open to everybody. So Food First Now, a couple of years ago, as part of some of our funding, we had the mandate from the funder that we had to work with people in other provinces. So we were able to partner with a group in Baker Lake and Nunavut. And so basically what we got to do is get some money from federal government and then just give it to them and say, like, go have fun, do a food program. And it was wonderful, and then we just got to see what happened and learn from each other. And so what they ended up doing that was really different, that I don't know if we've had it here in our province, is that they paid a full-time hunter and fisher. So there was somebody who was just like, no matter what it was, if it was berries they were picking, if it was fish they were fishing, if it was moose they were hunting, like they were just out there. And every time the season changed, they got as much as they could of that thing. And then they had a very similar community freezer, and if it was something that wasn't really going to last or freeze, then they had a youth group, and the youth group was going around and delivering it to all the elders. And I just thought that was so neat. And with the rising cost of like gas and ammunition and maintenance of equipment and vehicles and stuff, has there been any talk about that? Is that like a shared thing that could happen? Like, how do we pay people to spend that time out on the land hunting and fishing and foraging? And just interested in your thoughts on it, or if these conversations are happening. I know some people are being paid, but not like, it's not like a full-time job, you know?
Yeah. I don't, yes, I'm on, okay. I never heard of that before, but I love it. What a dream.
And it was a woman. She was so badass.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would love that. I mean, it would be amazing. Right now, we don't have any money, so if we had the money for it, I'd love to employ somebody to do that. That'd be incredible. Yeah. So if anyone knows where I can get some money to do that, let me know.
So I'll just add to that. First of all, could I sign up for that job? Sounds like amazing. I just got hunted my moose by myself a couple weeks ago, so I just think that's just such an honor to be able to do that and provide that to other people. We do it an honorarium. Basically, we don't. Actually, we have paid people to Black Tickle to go out and bring food to the freezer because it was just easier. What we've noticed in the people that do donate to our freezer are all older people. So we are concerned about where we're going to get our food from, and that may be the solution. Actually, to have people go out. We have people that will do that. We have a lot of people who work seasonally, and so right now, it's really hard for us to get fish because everybody who's fishing, they need that as an income. And they're, it's insurable and all that stuff too. So, but I could really see that working. I'd love to hear more about that, so I'll be asking.
Yeah. Sarah? I don't do NunatuKavut, does it?
They have someone full-time.
Not full-time, no. So they put out a contract and it goes on bids. And for the moose especially, they have done it for some small games. And and then when it's berry picking season, they just put it in a cup. That was all I had.
Yeah, and we do the same thing, but it's on a like non-agrarian one, so we just basically compensate them for their time. So, to be out on the land and expenses that they incur and things like that, so it's, and we actually have 12 moose that we're trying to harvest, and there goes more too, so, and that goes back into the community freezer, so, and we compensate people for their expenses for that.
Yeah, right now what we do is we compensate people for the processing costs and the gas price if they want it. A lot of them don't want it, they wanna just donate it, but if they need it or they want it, then we do that. But it would be great to be able to actually pay somebody to do it. I really love that idea.
More questions?
It's not as much of a question as it is some thoughts. My name is Sonia Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of the Single Parent Association. First, I want to say thank you to Debbie for the sharing the harvest. We were so excited to get our moose, and I joke with my family, I have a moose license for the very first time. But of course, that's not true. But we have moose and caribou, parmesan, blueberries. And it was absolutely heartwarming to know that families were looking forward to this. And the fish is going to be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for that. And Jennifer, thank you very much. Jennifer and her team, they deliver food hampers for us on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And so we're really happy with that. And of course, Andrew and Zach Harris, thank you for working with us as well. And everyone here at Food First. But what I wanted to say, I heard a lot about collaboration during the day. And I guess when I came here, that was my main focus. I'm thinking, why can't we do things together? And we talked about purchasing together. We talked about looking at other resources together. How are we going to find food? How are we going to find healthy food? How are we going to do this? I love the grocery store model, Jody, and you and I need to talk. Because you know what? We have skills in our office that maybe you don't have in your office. So we can share those resources as well. The human resources skills that we all have sitting around this table. And I've been fundraising in this province for a very long time, over 25 years, and I don't want to age myself, but it's been a long time. And I have some ideas, and I'm thinking, if we can get together and work on that, it'll be beneficial for all of us. So let's talk. And I keep saying to our staff, we're going to talk about that in January. But you know what, Jody? Let's talk next week so we can start the process.
Sounds good.
I just had a question of interest for Roxanne. I worked for a couple of years in NunatuKavut, and when I was there, the elders loved the country, what they called the country food, but the young people weren't. They seemed to have grown up with the, the stuff from the store and the fast food and so on. I'm just wondering, is it the same in Labrador?
Yes, it is. However, what we found out was that when young people are a part of the process, when they help with the cleaning of it, catching it, and just doing and cooking it, they're more inclined to eat it when they're part of the process. But being served it, yeah, they'll turn, I don't want that, and I have something else, right? But when they're part of it, and one of the things we're doing next week in Black Tickle is actually bringing our traditional foods and putting a modern twist to it. So Todd would be interested in this. So just basically adding it to things that you're familiar with, that young people have. I don't know what seal taco would be like, but why not?
Sounds good.
Hey, I was just wondering, what do you think of, professions like engineering or really anyone who's working with technology? How would that affect food insecurity sectors? For example, developing websites or apps that use real-time data. I think one person talked about that, and their presentation. So for anyone in the panel, really, like, how do you think technology can be integrated to improve, like, or help with your mission, basically?
Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of our long-term vision would be make our job easier every single day. If we could give kind of updates on when we were able to have the delivery there, if we could give real-time communication with everyone with kind of a, I don't know the technical jargon, but just some sort of software that would make it easier to communicate with all the clients every day. So yeah, something like I keep thinking skip the dishes, or skip the dishes kind of let you know when it's on the way, and then or you're getting something delivered from UPS or Amazon or something, and they just say, oh well, it's there. And anything like that in a user-friendly, basic format would be amazing. But I don't know how much that would cost. But yeah.
Yeah, I would think that, I know, like, hello?
We got it.
So, I know one of the things I've been focusing on in particular is kind of trying to update our technology, even from a donation point of view, like, kind of like, 90% of our donations come online now. And then there's all the, the social media and everything to get the donations. But then there's also the logistical aspects. There could be inventory systems that are made. There could be, like, say, I know if you're an Amazon driver, she was going to go out and pick up food, and she just would put it in the car, just kind of telling her where to go and the best route. So she's using the best use of her gas money, kind of thing, and not just kind of guessing it. So in the nonprofit world, we'll always be behind the private world, because that's the last thing they'll spend money on. Because they'll always want to spend it on what their service is. It's like, well, we can't really spend $5,000 on that when we don't have food on the shelf. But in actual fact, whether it comes from grants or not, I think right now, if you're not updating your technology, you're really falling behind, in my opinion.
One more question? Quick one though. I would just be curious, I don't work for a particular organization, but have been involved in aspects of food security through my university career as well as just life. But I'd be curious with any of the organizations that are on the panel or even in the room, if you have any best practices to share with us when it comes to working with outside businesses. So like, have you worked with a business in the community when it comes to transportation that has assisted or gotten themselves involved in what you're doing and supported your organization? Any best practice examples would be great.
The biggest thing when working with other folks is build the relationships, find the right people at those businesses. Throughout the last few months with Food on the Move, we've been talking with different folks, whether it be food suppliers, the people we're renting our vehicle from, all kinds of different people that are in the for-profit sector and we're in the non-profit sector that we're having these relationships with. So it's just about meeting, sometimes an organization that on paper might look like they've got all the great services that they're going to be able to provide you, but if they don't have somebody at the organization that speaks the same language, shares the same values, it's going to be difficult. So the big thing is go into these places. You can cold call, you can send emails, but putting a name to a face can be really powerful when getting in with those. So that's something that's been really valuable for us, is being able to know that I can call Matt at Enterprise, and I know what type of person I can deal with at these places. So when I'm in a bind and I really need to do something or change something up, I've got a person on the end of the line. I'm not just dealing with the entity that's there. It's really easy to look at some of these other businesses as just the name of the business and not the people who actually work there. And know that the people that you're chatting with at those businesses, they're people too. Just because they work for somebody doesn't mean they don't share the same values and passion for where they are. So get out there, talk to them, and build that relationship. And if you make commitments to them, follow through with them, and have the feedback of what's it like working together. And a lot of great things can happen to that.
I will add to that. I will add to that briefly. one of the things, when I first Hello. When I first started, so in 2017, 18-ish, it was very normal for corporations, say, to just kind of donate money. And then I noticed there was more of a, as the millennials or the younger employees, and then also from our point of view, the company started coming in. So instead of just, they still donated money, but they're like, well, we also want to send in 4 staff for a few hours. Can you give us something to do? And I will tell you, if you want to get supporters of your nonprofit, get people in there. Because then you get a chance to speak to them. You get a chance to show them around. You get a chance to really cultivate that relationship. And then you can steward that relationship. Because you know the problem in nonprofit world is everything's year to year. So if you can get a partner that sticks with you year over year, and you can cultivate and steward that relationship, it's really important. But I think instead of like us going to them, let them come to us and see what we do.
I wanted to add to that answer, because you did open it up to the whole room, so I'm just making myself part of the panel. I think that's a really, really cool place to talk more about sector collaboration too, because like Les mentioned, so he's built this great relationship with a car rental company. During the pandemic, when things were really hairy at the beginning, PAL really stepped up, so now we've got a PAL contact. We've got like Food First, I can think of off the top of my head that we've got, say, maybe like 6 or 7 really solid private sector contacts, and I'm sure that's the same for Bridges to Hope and for Single Parents Association and for all of them. So I don't have an answer there, but like, is there a way that we can do sort of like a have some got some type of sharing of information, so that if there's something that you need, like I need a new bookkeeper, how can we speak out to this sector of people that hustle and have connections and say like, well, who's the best bookkeeper and who's going to give you a good deal because they care about helping the community and that kind of thing. So that's just maybe like a shared back end, I guess, is what I'm talking about. And yeah, if you're looking for the car rental, telephone, or PAL contacts, get in touch.
So I think that with this discussion and these panelists and the incredible work they've been doing, it's like very clearly illustrating for us that not only are our traditional charitable models of food access amenable to transformation, but they're actively in the midst of these changes. There's really powerful inertia building and pushing food access in new directions, and that there are more and more opportunities and ways to continue rethinking food charity in Newfoundland and Labrador. So one last round of applause for our panelists, please.